Everyone. Am I actually live? I'm just checking to see if I'm live in group. Um, am I live? I can't see that I am at the moment. Oh. Okay, now I think I'm live in group. Wendy's just confirmed to me that I am. There's always a massive delay on these lives, so I do apologise for those of you if there's anyone there waiting. If you are watching me live and you're receiving me loud and clear, it would be amazing if you could give me a thumbs up or just say hello. That would be incredible, so I know that I'm not in here all on my own. I'd really love it if you could do that. And we're getting started. Tonight I'm going to do a little mini live, as I've promised. Our Reducing Reactivity program is coming up, and I wanted to do a little series of mini lives before then. So those of you who are interested could get to know me a little bit. And also, hopefully I can give you a little bit of information that will help you with your own dog. So tonight is absolutely all about your dog and you, your Doberman and you, walks and behaviour, how it's connected. I've just had a little look on my Facebook page and I see that I have actually got a few people watching me, and thank you for the comments. I'll go back and have a little look at the comments later, and if anyone has any questions, please ask away in the comments. We've got Wendy Lee, who is my assistant instructor, with me this evening as well. So she's on the live. So if anyone has any questions at all, don't be frightened to ask. Just type them in the chat, and Wendy will do her best to answer, as will I, when I finish my little presentation. Or we'll pop by afterwards when this is posted in the group, and we'll answer your questions there. So don't be shy. If you have any questions for us, just type away in the chat and we'll do our very best to answer them. So yeah, first little live tonight is all about walks and behaviour and how your walks affects behaviour, really. And every Doberman owner I know, every dog owner in fact I know, would absolutely love to achieve loose lead walking and a 100% reliable recall. That's what everyone wants. They want to be able to get their dogs to walk nicely on a lead and come back when called. And the other couple of things that people always ask me about as well is, bringing stuff back when asked and being able to wait when asked as well. But tonight we're concentrating on walks, so loose lead walking really, and getting a reliable recall. And I'm going to talk about why sometimes it's so difficult, why it's so difficult for a lot of us to achieve loose lead walking or a reliable recall when we're out and about. And those two things are really important, aren't they? Share with us in the chat, what's your dog's loose lead walking like? What do your walks look like? And do you have a rocket recall whereby your dog runs back to you every single time you call him when he's off the lead? Share those details with us in the chat. Now, we know that Dobermans are a strong working and guarding breed, and it's so much better, isn't it, to be comfortable when we're walking instead of having our arms pulled out of our sockets, muscles pulled daily, being uncomfortable, or sometimes, even being pulled over. And we want to feel safe, don't we? We want to feel safe on the lead, and we want to feel safe that if we let him off the lead, he's going to come back to us. But the reality is, in my world in Dobe Academy, that many of us struggle to achieve the control and focus we want at all when we're out and about with our Dobermans. So it's often very, very difficult for many, many, many of us. And why is this? We're going to have a little look at why this is tonight. And the truth is that out and about in the real world, in what's effectively some really challenging environments for our dogs, around the many different distractions that offer all the fun, the value, the reward that our dogs like, or even on the opposite side of the coin, for some of our dogs, the outdoor world means that they're suffering with fear or frustration or overwhelm. And what's going on in these scenarios, when we don't have any control over our dogs, is that our dobes just don't have sufficient patterning, history of learned behaviour with us to give them an alternative to what we're experiencing out and about on our walks. So why do we struggle? The thing is that Dobermans, of course, are hardwired, as we know, most of them, to guard, to sniff, to hunt, and to chase, to put it in a nutshell. And of course, many, many, many of them, the majority of them, I would say, have a high prey drive too. Their suspicious and often sensitive nature can also easily tip over or spill over into fear or anxiety. And then reactivity can creep in as well, making every walk we go out on an absolute nightmare. And if this is you, share with us in the chat, if you're struggling with reactivity with your dog, share with us what's going on. Now, Dobermans, as I know only too well, because I've had 40 years of Doberman experience, Dobermans have an ability to go from 0 to 60 in a nanosecond. And what this means is that they're often frustrated or overwhelmed and in over arousal when we're out and about, particularly when they're restricted on a lead. And this means that they will often behave in ways that us human beings, us owners, find really, really, really difficult, really challenging. And they can be expressing the frustration in biting the lead, for example, jumping up, mouthing our clothes or us, lunging and barking at other dogs or other people. And if given their freedom, they'll be off, chasing wildlife or worse, the local cyclist or jogger moving through the park. And then they can't hear us. They can't listen to us, it seems. So they're often completely ignoring us. This is what I see a lot of with people that I help on a regular basis. And sometimes if there's nothing else on offer, and I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but I have personally with some of my younger dobes, my adolescent dobes, for example, sometimes if there's nothing else on offer and they want to be entertained, they'll even dive bomb us, chase biting our legs or our feet, for example, or do a sneaky little fly past and nip at our clothes as they go. And we see quite a lot of this sometimes in adolescence as well. So do share with us if you're experiencing any of that with your dog. And dobes can be adrenaline junkies for sure, and as I said earlier, they're often sensitive and anxious too. And with all of these things combined, that's why they can be a challenging breed. And what we often don't realise, I think, is that one of the single most common unwitting activities that contributes hugely rather, to this continuing cycle of difficult behaviours I've just walked through, some of the difficult behaviours. What can really contribute to it, and we don't realise, is what I call a traditional dog walk. And every single day, we Doberman owners will dutifully pick up our lead, won't we? Attach it to our dog, and off we go for our daily, sometimes twice daily walk with our large working breed dogs, because we've got it rammed home to us. You know, we believe that this daily outing is absolutely, you know, necessary, because it's been rammed home, all right, that this is what we have to do. This is what we're told we should do. And if we don't take our dogs out on this walk on a daily basis, we're bad owners. But this daily outing, what's important to understand is that this daily outing is often the one thing that contributes to and sets us up unwittingly for complete failure with what we want to achieve with our dogs. And then I can hear everyone screaming, why? I have to take my dog out for a walk. I must take my Doberman out for a walk. He needs this exercise daily or he'd be bouncing off the walls. I can hear everyone screaming at me. And yes, of course, we absolutely have to take care of his species and breed needs, without a doubt. But we can do this in many other ways. And by practicing the traditional dog walk, for example, if we are experiencing behavioural difficulties when we're out and about, we are all too often hugely compromising not only our own value for our dogs in ourselves, but we're also often overlooking our dog's own needs and their ability to cope in the environments in which we're walking in. And what happens is when our dog is overwhelmed, we're going to absolutely see more reactive behaviour, more pulling on the lead, more barking and lunging. You know, we're absolutely going to see more of this behaviour that I'm describing, and other things as well too. And with the traditional dog walk, we risk regularly and consistently promoting, if you like, sometimes our dog's self-employment in activities that he's hardwired to do, such as the chase, which creates, you know, hugely valuable reinforcing and competing motivators for his focus and engagement. You know, we literally set ourselves up for failure in these situations if we're practicing all of these things on a daily basis. Now, I hope Wendy's coping okay in the comments, but I know it may really surprise you to know that the simple traditional dog walk can actually be counterproductive if you're struggling with behavioural issues, more particularly when you have a reactive dog. So going out for a walk every single day with your dog before you have built value in yourself or created the necessary patterning, as I call it, and skills within your dog that you and he both need, is actually the biggest, most single offender for creating crazy, uncontrollable dogs with no ability to focus on us. We humans often don't understand what's going on for our dogs, particularly those who struggle when we take them out into the real world daily. You know, reactive dogs are often struggling with anxiety or fear, or frustration, you know, some of the things I mentioned earlier. And my favourite saying here as well is also that what a dog practices the most will without a doubt become his best performance. My clients are regularly hearing me say that. So we need to ask ourselves, what is our dog actually practicing every day generally, and particularly on our walks? Okay. It's so critical that our dog does have value in us, that we have a very deep connection and a great relationship with him, that he feels safe, and that this continues once we pass the threshold of our front door or gateway, for example, into the world outside. It's important that we understand what drives him, what he's expressing when we're out and about with his behaviour, why we're seeing the behaviours that we do when we go out on that walk. And there are several key components to this as well, which I go into much more deeply with my clients into my reactivity and other programs. Understanding our dog's feelings and emotions. And Dobermans have huge big feelings, don't they? Huge big feelings. And we're all very well aware of that, I'm sure. understanding what these feelings are and where they come from, and then having the ability, the knowledge, the understanding and the skills to change those feelings helps you with your walks. It helps you in everyday life, really. It helps you at home. It helps you in every aspect of living with your Doberman, you know, and changing it into a more harmonious existence alongside each other. So building safety and calmness. And calmness is a difficult one that we have to work on with most Dobermans. Making a successful connection and relationship with him involves a lot more than just old-fashioned obedience training, you know. And this is essential, understanding and being able to build on that connection, build on the trust, build on the relationship that we have with our dogs. Obedience training is necessary, of course it's necessary, and it always forms part of what I do. But, you know, the biggest part of what I do is understanding what's going on for the dog and for the owner, and then changing that emotion, you know, changing the association with what our dog is currently feeling when we're dealing with behavioural problems, for example. So understanding all of this and understanding that your relationship with your dog and, you know, focus building needs to start at home and not on the walk is crucial, and this will make a huge impact on your training success and also help your walks to be much more enjoyable in the future. Training your dog is a big commitment, you know, especially when you get a large working guarding breed. We have to train. We absolutely have to train. It's not optional, in my opinion. It's just not optional, and it takes a lot of time. But it's important as well that we don't lose sight of why we got the dog in the first place. And training should be fun for both you and your dog. And it needs to be well practiced as well. Well past puppyhood. You know, it's no use just going to an 8-week puppy class and expecting that that's going to set you up for life, particularly with a Doberman. It's just not. And when your dog's struggling as well, you know, when your dog does have behavioural issues such as reactivity, you know, the big emotions and the feelings, then creating patterns of behaviour and building in those skills and learning for both you and him are absolutely essential to enable you to both develop harmony for you both on your walks, so that your walks are a little bit more relaxing and you're not worried or fearful or, you know, pulling muscles here, there and everywhere, or grazing knees when you're falling over as he pulls you over. Having a whole bag of well-known, well-practiced coping strategies and skills to grab and use when challenges do appear is an absolute life changer. I can promise you that. And a walk changer, in fact, absolutely a walk changer. Now, I love to promote training for the walk and not on it. And by deconstructing, doing what I call deconstructing the dog walk to provide for all our dog's physical and mental needs, whilst we're working away in the background on key areas for our dog of confidence, building trust, building connection with us, etc., building focus, we can learn together how to enjoy traditional walks with our dogs without conflict or pain for any of us. Building connection and relationship and working on patterns and skills that your dog can use out and about won't just improve your walks, but it's also essential if you want to be able to help your reactive or fearful, anxious dog too. No tool is going to change behaviour. You know, we can use all of the tools in all of the equipment rather that you can throw at your dog, but if you put a piece of equipment on to make your walk more comfortable, the minute you take the equipment off, the behaviour is still there. So we absolutely have to work at changing the behaviour, and that of course takes much longer. But as I said, it should also be fun. It should be, you know, you should be able to enjoy your dog and really love the training sessions that you do with him. And that's what I aim to do for everybody as well, because we sometimes lose sight of why we got the dog or who the dog is when we're struggling with behavioural issues. So I always make sure that everything that I'm teaching my clients is fun for them as well as fun for the dog. It's important that we look after both ends of the lead, really important. So that's what I wanted to say really and truly about walking. If we're struggling on our walks, you know, particularly if you've got an anxious, fearful, overreactive or over aroused Doberman, and I've experienced many of those myself, you know, my own personal dogs. I've had Dobes for 40 years now. They're my absolute passion. And obviously in this group, I hope everyone's got to know who I am, what I'm all about, what I do, and you can watch the videos I've posted for you with my own dog. The next little live up I'm planning to do next Tuesday at 6 o'clock, and I'll post another little event live for anyone who wants to join. And I'm going to talk about deconstructing your dog walk so that we can ensure we're taking care of all of our dog's needs. We're going to talk about what you can do instead whilst you're doing the training, whilst you're working on your relationship and everything in the background. So that's going to be my next little live next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. And Dobe Academy, of course, trains through kindness, knowledge and understanding of, you know, for both ends of the lead. And while I'm talking to you as well, I just wanted to say to you as well, we do of course have a website. We do of course, you can of course follow us on YouTube. So you can visit our website and have a look at everything that's on offer for you there. You can follow us on YouTube. I quite often post some really useful, helpful little videos on there as well. You can absolutely have a look in the guides in this group, because there's lots of enrichment ideas and some fun free training ideas in there for you and your dog as well, particularly if you're new to the group. You can absolutely join our Reducing Reactivity program starting on the 20th of October if you'd like to do that. And you can book in a free call with me for a 15-minute free call if you wanted to know a little bit more about that program and how our training works. So that's our little live for this evening. I hope I've passed on some useful information and that Wendy is happily coping with the chat. I'm just going to see if I can see any of the comments. Yeah, we've got quite a few comments in there. I can't actually, it's really annoying because I can't actually see any of the comments on my chat here, because I'm on my computer and I'm just looking at my phone, and I can see there are some comments on my phone, but I can't see any of them on my computer, which is really rather annoying. So yeah, brilliant. Hello everyone. Hello Lynn, it's nice to see. They're all caught up. Wendy's just sent me a message. Hello Nikki. Hi Judith. Hi Andre. Really nice to see so many of you on here. If you catch the live, you're popping by afterwards and you catch the live afterwards, you know, drop into the comments and say hello, because it's nice to know that people are watching. And also, you know, tell us what you need help with, because if we know what you need help with, then we can absolutely build in some extra help into the group for you and in our programs too as well. So that's it from me tonight. Put in your diary that we're going live at 6 o'clock next week if you want to watch the next little live about how to deconstruct your dog walk to take care of all your dog's needs. And then the week after, we're going to give you a few little games to start playing as well, hopefully. So thank you for being here with me this evening. I hope you've enjoyed the live, and I'll see you again, hopefully next week, if not before. Thanks for watching, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening.